Good afternoon. I'm Hunter Christmas, and I am a part of the Frogs team. We will be talking to you about the chemical protection masks. Within our project, we have Scenario 1, which is a high-trust, low-distrust partnership between Dolores and Patty McNichols of Showcase Corporation and Dependor Corporation. So I'm Hunter Christmas.
I'm Tareq Albo.
I'm Jeremy Hodge.
I'm Jasmine Padilla.
And I'm Joel Soto.
Before we get started with the presentation, we want to address our customer profile. We got the distracted customer. So Patty and Dolores believe that we have enough knowledge and experience within project management that they don't necessarily have to be around to see this project through, and instead are taking a vacation, which is very ironic, especially in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we plan on implementing high involvement, high communication, and corporate social responsibility to help sway Patty and Dolores into making sure that they are very highly involved in the decision-making within the project.
Okay, so some background information on Showcase Corporation and Dependor Corporation. First, Showcase Corporation is a small business owned by Dolores and Patty McNichols. The firm is located in a southwestern town next to a major university. We are headquartered out of Santa Teresa, New Mexico, and Washington, D.C. Showcase Corporation wants to get into the chemical protection field, wanting to offer a chemical protection mask that would allow its users to operate safely in harmful and hazardous workspace areas. The safety package that they want to make consists of a chemical protection mask, protective overalls, gloves, and boots. Each one of these packaged together, to make workers feel safe in their hazardous workspace. Some background information on Dependor Corporation. Dependor is a firm who handles government contracts, and they have a good knowledge and understanding of federal and government regulations, and they also have a good knowledge background of Washington, D.C. and that area. During this time with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are looking to maximize our production for these safety packages to make as many as we can to help meet the needs required during this time to help people on the front lines, such as first responders, clinical and hospital workers who are treating a lot of these patients who are ill during these times. To give you a little bit more background information on the current situation and the current pandemic that we're in, I will pass it over to Jasmine.
Thank you, Joel. So the first two main goals for our Showcase Corporation include: one, obtaining and maintaining government contracts to produce these safety overalls, gloves, masks, and boots. The second one would be to increase both our customer loyalty and our profits during these difficult and uncertain times. COVID-19 is a coronavirus associated with the outbreak in Wuhan, China, as of November of 2019. It is a respiratory illness that is transferred from both person to person through coughing, sneezing, and even talking, as well as it can be spread through on surfaces. The CDC recommends social distancing, staying at home as much as possible, going out only when needed, washing your hands, and using safety protection equipment such as gloves and masks when going to places like the grocery stores. There are currently over 814,000 cases alone in the United States of COVID-19, and it keeps going up. The demand for safety equipment is at an all-time high. We feel that it is our corporate and social responsibility here at Showcase Corporation to keep up with the demand as well as keep prices low so everyone can have safety equipment such as the gloves and masks. Another goal for the Dependor and Showcase Corporation is to establish both high communication and high involvement. By implementing that, by meeting weekly promptly with all members to continue to be able to produce the high amounts of product as necessary. I will now pass it to Tareq.
Thank you, Jasmine. Today I will be talking to you all about the scope of the project and as well as how the distracted customer kind of plays into it. So as we can see from the case itself, Patty and Dolores are really struggling uh, to really stay in business as competition is increasing all around them. Even online is not making as much revenue as it used to. So part of this partnership with Dependor is so that they could start manufacturing safety packages for federal government agencies such as chemical protection masks. They believe that through this partnership with Dependor, they can be seen viable in the eyes of the government. And through that, they need to develop and maintain a strong partnership with Dependor for at least 5 to 10 years, especially with everything going on now, as Joel and Jasmine had mentioned. The demand for these masks are at an all-time high, and it just seems too early on in this partnership for them to take a trip as long as 6 months in the middle of the ocean where communication is hard. With that being said, another reason why they partnered up with Dependor is so that it's because Dependor has a lot of experience with government contracting, which Patty and Dolores lack. So they feel that they can really get that expertise and that experience through it. And through the contract of the partnership, it is stated that they need to be within reasonable communicative reach within the first year of the partnership. As I mentioned, that is very hard to do in the middle of the ocean during probably one of the most important times for the company itself. And if one party fails to comply, the project manager will be the appointed decision maker. And we believe with proprietors as high as Dolores and Patty, their input and their involvement is crucial in regards to the business. So looking at the right side of this page, we can see our WBS, which we categorized in 5 different deliverables. The first deliverable being research and development. This is where the testing comes into play, the design and the legalities for for the government rules and regulations. This is where the patents are made in order to distinguish our masks from all competitors and maybe even our filtration devices within the masks. Which is where the testing comes in and make sure that it is working and it is effective. Going forward to the next deliverable, we have our contracts. Not only are we doing contracts with the government, because this is a safety equipment, but we're also doing our partnership contract with Dependor and our contracts with suppliers and vendors. Our next one will be the manufacturing and packaging. We decided to move all the manufacturing process to Juarez, Mexico for costs, which we'll get into in the next slide, and that's where we'll be doing our production as well as our distribution. We also have control as one of the deliverables. That's where we have the risk management, the project management, and that's where we'll be doing our marketing and our communications for our products so that we can really get our name out there. And finally, we have our closeout activities. This is where all records and documentation takes place, such as financial audits, files, documentations, and just all meetings in general that we have going forward. Going on to our next slide, we have Hunter with costs.
So we do feel like cost was the main thing that we needed to take into account, knowing that before the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the goals of Patty and Dolores was to increase revenues of 30%, so that they are able to continue the success that they previously had before entering into government contracts and the partnership with Dependor. So on the right of our screen, we can see an excerpt from our project requirements document addressing scope, cost, and schedule. You can see that we've already talked about scope, and we'll talk about schedule here in a second, but we want to address the monthly production and the profit amounts directly associated with the different safety packages and the different items in the safety packages. So our monthly production will probably be around 50,000 safety packages. This, of course, will change as demand increases or decreases due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can see that with that amount of safety packages being produced monthly, we can see the profit amount, at least in general for the mask itself, is $44. Seeing that our revenue will be, even in the monthly regards, $13 million. So we can already see that that goal originally will be met. So also moving our manufacturing to Juarez, Mexico will increase that revenue aspect, or the profit aspect of the cost, because we are able to lower production and labor costs. It's also very close to our headquarters in Sanity, New Mexico. So that way we are able to be involved, have that high involvement that we talked about, and that high communication we talked about, not only with Dependor, but with our suppliers and our vendors. We think that having production being raised for the COVID-19 pandemic will help us in the demand of masks, as well as helping us with our corporate social responsibility of helping our nation when it is in need. So with that being said, we'll talk about the schedule and we'll get our conclusion of the project.
Thank you. So we want to increase the production to meet the needs during the COVID-19. We will be putting out the masks the first of every month, giving each state a chance to get the number of masks needed. So that way we are on schedule and people won't have to worry about when the next time they're going to need a shipment of masks that are coming, and they won't be having to run out of things. A high trust with Dependor likely to lead to a partnership lasting for past 5 years. With that being said, Dependor really trusts the work and the operation of how everything will be handled. They're very dependent on the firm. Plus, once you've already established yourself from the past of your progress of your company, then you won't have a really disappointment in the company that really needs you to pull through for them. That will just give them even more trust to come back and be a partnership with you. And a good reason for them to last so long is because obviously the COVID-19, however long that's going to last, that's how long the production will be at its highest and when it's going to be needed more. Once you go through this chaos at this time of situation and you come out of a positive situation for the company and the production for the manufacturer, then it will give them an indicator and a more trustworthy reason to prolong the partnership and go past these 5 years, as we just said. With that being said, with the deaths and more cases popping up, the more people are going to be worried and wanting a mask. So that's how long that giving them the chance of prolonging the relationship for a partnership. With the reevaluation on the partnership and the production we conducted in December of 2020, with a going through that, I have an excerpt from the PRD quoting from the closeout activities. The future contract between Dependor and SC will be discussed after a year of working together. An annual meeting will be held after 12 months after contract is initiated. Discussion within the meeting will include continuation of contract, benefits, short-term goal accomplishments, and long-term goals with the future of the company, pricing, and contracts with suppliers. And with that being said, I'll pass it right back to Hunter.
So in conclusion, we feel that implementing high involvement, high communication, and reminding everyone involved about our corporate social responsibility to be a huge objective in producing these masks and implementing this partnership will be able to align our priorities where they're needed and be able to connect with our partners and have that high trust, low distrust partnership that will eventually and most likely end with a long and fulfilling partnership. Not only that, we will be able to meet our original goals that have been addressed, as well as have a successful partnership going forward with Dependor and Showcase Corporation. We thank you for your time.